We are looking at a wild, highly publicized media standoff that perfectly captures this massive tension right now between late-night television and political power. Seriously, it's a fascinating and frankly escalating clash between comedic free speech, government authority, and the incredible pressure that gets dumped right on the laps of broadcast executives.
So if you're an everyday viewer who cares about the health of our democracy, this is the big question to keep in the back of your mind as we go through this. How do we navigate a totally fractured media landscape where a single late-night joke can instantly snowball into demands from former, or hey, maybe future, political leaders for a comedian to be fired? It's a ridiculously delicate balance of power, right? And understanding the nuts and bolts of the standoff really helps us see exactly where the boundaries of free expression are being drawn today.
Okay, moving into part one, the alternate correspondence dinner. Let's look at what actually ignited this whole debate.
Now, the tradition of the White House Correspondents' Dinner has kind of morphed over the years from lighthearted roasts into these highly polarized battlegrounds. And this timeline perfectly illustrates how a televised parody suddenly collided with a very real security threat. So a few days before the actual dinner, Jimmy Kimmel hosts this alternate gala on his show. He's doing a monologue to a fake audience, complete with stand-ins for Donald and Melania Trump. Then, on April 25th, the real dinner in D.C. is actually evacuated. Gunshots are heard, an armed suspect is detained, a genuinely serious situation. But then, 2 days later, Donald Trump gets on Truth Social and directly connects Kimmel's fake video segment to the actual armed suspect at the real event. And the specific catalyst for all this controversy? It was this exact joke. Kimmel quipped to the fake Melania Trump about the 79-year-old president's advanced age, saying, "You have a glow like an expectant widow." Now, in the traditional context of political roasting, comedians push the envelope, right? That's what they do. But in today's highly charged environment, those exact words became the spark that blew this whole thing wide open.
Which brings us to part two, government accusations of inciting violence.
Look at the sheer contrast here. It's like two totally different realities. On one hand, you have the comedian's perspective. This is just an established tradition of political roasting. It's a harmless parody using a fake video setup. Simple as that. But on the other side, the government viewpoint, specifically articulated by Donald Trump, framed this absolutely not as comedy, but as a despicable call to violence. He basically suggested the fake video gave that armed suspect at the real dinner a very obvious and sinister reason for showing up. We're literally looking at two entirely opposed views on media intent. And then things escalated even further. Melania Trump released a statement echoing the idea that the rhetoric was hateful, but pay close attention to the second half of her quote here. She totally shifts the crosshairs from the comedian straight to the broadcast network. By saying Kimmel hides behind ABC and demanding Disney and ABC fire him, the pressure suddenly isn't just on the guy telling the jokes, it is placed squarely on the shoulders of corporate leadership. They're now being pressured directly to step in and enforce compliance.
So let's flip it around. Part 3. The comedian's free speech defense. How do comedians push back when they're accused of inciting real-world harm?
Well, Kimmel defended his ground by bringing up absolute legends of comedy, guys like Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, and Howard Stern. These are figures who famously spent their careers battling obscenity charges and state censorship. So by invoking their names, Kimmel is basically saying, hey, this isn't just an isolated incident. He's framing his current battle as part of a long, proud tradition of comedians acting as the ultimate stress test for our First Amendment rights.
And this quote right here is the absolute bedrock of that First Amendment defense. You know, legally speaking, the bar for actually inciting violence is set incredibly high. It's designed that way specifically to protect aggressive political parody from being twisted into an actual legal threat. So Kimmel is arguing that when a political figure threatens to silence a critic, it's not just some standard grievance. It actively crosses a strict legal line into anti-American suppression. He's drawing a very clear line in the sand over what is legally protected free speech versus what is a punishable offense. Which drops us right into part 4, the broadcast executive's dilemma. Because at the end of the day, the network actually holds the keys to the airwaves.
Now you might be wondering, do network execs really take these threats that seriously? Well, check out this recent historical precedent. Just last September, the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, issued a threat over some remarks Kimmel made about conservative activist Charlie Kirk. And what happened? ABC and Nexstar literally pulled the show off the air. It actually took a full week before Kimmel was allowed back on the airwaves. So yeah, this proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that political pressure can, and absolutely does, force immediate, real-world corporate compliance.
Talk about walking a terrifying tightrope, right? On one side, network executives have a real obligation to creative freedom.
They need to protect their talent's right to satire, because let's face it, that's what draws viewers and drives cultural conversations. But on the flip side, they are heavily regulated entities. When you're navigating direct threats from political leadership, especially when it involves powerful bodies like the FCC, you are constantly having to weigh the value of a single joke against the very real danger of losing your broadcast license or facing massive corporate blowback.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a pretty provocative question to chew on. When political leaders demand that a network fire a comedian over a joke, claiming it's a safety threat, who actually gets to decide if that's true? Is it the comedian? Is it the government? Or is it the corporate executives who are stuck squarely in the crossfire? Understanding this incredibly delicate balance of power is absolutely crucial for any of us paying attention to the future of our democracy and our media landscape. Thanks for tuning in, and remember to always keep questioning the information around you.